are many other youth projects around Ireland who take the idea of development education and thread it through their youth work. And we think that's vital. We think that's where it should be. We think, we know that young people come to youth projects for lots of different reasons. We know that youth work covers lots of different areas, but we fundamentally believe that development education should be a thread within youth work and a core one. So we're going to share with you a little bit about how that works in our club. And in particular, we're going to look today at how the challenges of working with, we know, different types of young people. And we're going to give you a little illustration of the types of young people we come across and how we see them within the DevEd thread in our club. So we're an old school youth club. We've been around since 1996, when I was young. No, I was young back then. But we're a voluntary youth club, and that was a time when a 22-year-old could go into a local youth service and say, I want to set up a youth club, and be supported and inspired to do that. Back then, we thought it would be cool to do stuff about anti-racism. There was groups like Defy out there. We all different, all equal, and that cool black and white poster existed back then. We made a bigger version of it, and myself and the guy who set up the youth club thought that this stuff should be in there. We didn't know why, but we just thought maybe that would be good to do. But a really good reflection of that since then is that in 2014, our first night back, every year we start back in September in the club, but some of our, as we would call, feisty members, so some of the members who you would wonder, they come down and sometimes you have to take them aside and have a little chat with them, they're boisterous, but they asked, when's Issues Night coming up this year? And Issues Night happens twice a year very explicitly in our club, and that's where we look at issues. And they remembered Issues Night from the previous year, and they wondered when it would be on again. And that's a reflection of the fact that Issues Night had an impact on them. So maybe they're, causing a bit of mayhem in the general run of things, but something stuck with them, and that was fascinating for us to see. Something that I guess we're very, very proud of is the fact that we put value on that work. And it's not just an add-on. It's not just something that comes on the radar when One World Week comes along. It's something that's embedded in the culture of our club, and that's really important to us, and it's something that we value. It's not a novelty. The big thing for us is looking at and developing the intrinsic motivation of young people. So it's not about do this stuff because you become a good person. That's not the reward. It's not do this stuff and get a like on Facebook. That's not the reward. What we want to do is challenge and inspire and encourage and enable young people to have a change inside. Because the change inside, as we'll see in our presentation, has the impact. We thought we'd show a little video just to give you a 3-minute video to give a sense of the story of how DevEd fits within Celtic Youth. something that we remind ourselves of often is this quote: "Everyone isn't in the same place, even if they are in the same space." And that's important for us. So when we talk about the journey in Celtic Youth, we know and we appreciate that it can be different for different people. And it's important that we accept that fact. Us who are leaders, us who are developing programs, that we understand that we meet different types of young people. And there are a million labels for the young people that we work with. But it's important for us to acknowledge that they are at different points, and potentially at different points when they come into our youth project. They're coming for different reasons. Some of the lads just come to hang out with the girls. Some of the girls just come because there's nothing else to do. Some of them come sometimes, some of them don't come, So there are lots of different entry points, and there are lots of different motivations for them to be there. We also believe that the Dev Ed thread at this stage works its own magic. So it's embedded in the culture of the club. So it's not something that we have to preach about. It's not something that we have to convince about. There are generations of young people who expect it to be there. So when a new batch come along, then they see it there, and it has its own effect on them, and that's important as well. Each generation reinforces the weave, and that's really valuable for us. So we have 18 years of a youth club. Our oldest leader, I think, is 27, and she's been there since she was 12. So there are generations of people who are involved in volunteering and committed to a youth club, and they are part of that weave. But we're going to look a little bit at the different types of young people that we meet and where they're at and why that's significant.
So the first one is the antagonist, and they would say things like, "I couldn't care less about their families or floods or whatever is going on. That's not my problem. They all come over here and get the dole and a house and everything. It's a disgrace. Irish first. That's all I'm saying."
So there's a huge risk if youth work ignores him, or if he becomes part of the classic youth work narrative, our guys aren't really that interested in that stuff.
The second type of young person we might meet is someone who's indifferent. They'll say things like, "I'm not interested, to be honest. I don't see any connection to me or to my life. I'm not being bad, but it means nothing to me. It has no impact or effect on my life, so why should I bother getting involved? I've way too much to be doing, trying to keep my head above the water."
So this guy could be a negative force. So his stance is clear in his own mind, and he is one step away from joining the antagonist. So again, if youth work interprets his indifference as disinterest, we lose an opportunity.
The third type of person that we might meet is the bystander. And they'll say things like, "Oh God, that's terrible, the poor souls. I'm glad it's not happening here, that's for sure. It's sad though, isn't it? Oh yeah, I saw that on the news, an awful state of affairs, isn't it? I mean, did you see the state of some of those kids? Who'd be a mother, eh?"
So this person is stuck in a world of sympathy and sees no role for herself in playing out a different part of the world. So in youth work, there is an opportunity to harness this sympathy and transform it into empathy.
The fourth type of young person that we might meet is the empathizer. So they'll say things like, "Oh, that is not right. When I think about what it must be like for those families, it's just not right. I can't imagine how I would cope if I had to go through the same ordeal. No mother or child deserves that. I feel that they're really going to need a lot of support to get through this. Something needs to be done. I wish I knew what."
So this person feels a genuine empathy for those who are suffering. So through youth work, we can provide this person with an outlet for their empathy through the Dev Ed programs.
And the final young person that we might meet is the empathy actor. So they'll present with, "I feel that it is my responsibility to do something about this situation. It is not right and it shouldn't be happening. I will not stand by and do nothing. I am shocked that this has been allowed to happen. I am determined to do whatever I can to make sure that it never happens again."
So this person combines empathy and action. Their empathy and action can come from a youth work environment. Youth work has the potential to enable the journey from any of the previous types to get them to this type.
We're going to introduce you to one of our veterans. He's not as old as me, but yeah. Leo is a youth leader in Celtic Youth Bray, and he has travelled the journey from member to where he is today. We won't say what age he is, but he's not young.
Yes, so you're probably sitting there wondering, okay, this is what a young person does in a dev-ed kind of youth work club. So what happens to them when they become an adult and they're no longer in school? So I left. I was in CYB as a participant. I was never really socially aware or politically aware in my kind of private life. I wasn't a part of student councils or didn't really, I kind of followed the crowd with the rest of my friends. So I left school and then I had no idea what I wanted to do. I did computer science for 2 years, but I felt I struggled because I couldn't conform. I couldn't go in the same direction my other peers or my friends were going in. So I left computer science after 2 years and decided to go to Maynooth, and I'm currently a second year community and youth work student. And from there, I remember my first equality class, my eyes were opened straight away, and I felt like a sponge. And I felt like I always had this passion in my life from the stuff I did as a young person, but I'd nowhere for this passion to go. So as soon as I got involved, I was straight away, let's go, what can I do along with this? So it went beyond that. For the past few months, I've definitely become aware of my privilege, looking at myself as a white, male, straight, educated, born in a developed country, and to go beyond that and become an active global citizen and say, well, why should I stand back? I have to get involved. So, it was hard, but you see a lot of, I remember coming back one day to the youth centre and there was a 17-year-old girl and a 22-year-old girl just sitting around talking about life. But the idea of charities came up. And straight away, the 22-year-old had this very strong view of charities, and you wouldn't see that really in the school situation. But the 17-year-old straight away came back at her with her own kind of strong view, and I was just blown away. Very empowering stuff. I'm very committed now to go forward and learn from my experience. What can I do with young people as a student, youth worker, and community worker? So we have the red pill and the blue pill. And I talked about how I used to have my head buried in the sand. And a quote for you is that, you take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up in your bed and you believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Ireland is not in the 1970s anymore. Ireland is in 2014 and is a diverse culture and global nation. And I know there's plenty of young people here today, and I urge you to try and take a red pill and see how far you can go with it. Thank you.